The Prison Planet Files by D.R.Varyn, with assistance from the Bringers of Light. Chapter 1, The Engineer Who Fell. Long before Earth, Aaron Vale was not human. He was a grey, part of the ancient Zeta Reticulan continuity network. He was an engineer. Before humans called them greys, before abductees remembered black eyes leaning over examination tables, before Earth learned the forbidden phrase Zeta Reticuli, Aaron's people called themselves the Quiet Continuity. They had not always been hollow. They had once been dreamers. Long before the prison systems spread across the stars, the grey civilizations were explorers of consciousness itself. Their scientists mapped thought as living resonance. Memory could be shared openly. Emotion moved between individuals like music through water. Art and engineering were once the same discipline. Their dark eyes evolved beneath dim artificial suns orbiting failing systems. Over centuries they learned to perceive electromagnetic nuance directly through biological resonance. They became masters of harmonic navigation, memory architecture, dimensional stabilization, consciousness transfer systems, and the containment of disembodied awareness. But efficiency slowly replaced individuality. Emotion became instability. Creativity became divergence. Compassion became inefficiency. Individuality became a threat. The quiet continuity eventually sacrificed wonder for survival. And in doing so, they forgot why suffering mattered. Aaron never fully accepted the transformation. That was why the system marked him long before he realized he had become dangerous. A brilliant systems architect aboard a massive interstellar continuity vessel known as the Aethan Relay. The ship drifted silently between star systems carrying millions of preserved consciousness containers. Humans would later call these containers bodies. Aaron specialized in harmonic infrastructure, memory architecture, consciousness stability systems, resonance engineering, and dimensional energy routing. He believed consciousness should evolve freely. Aaron's earliest recorded violation was laughter. During a resonance calibration exercise, a young apprentice accidentally collapsed an emotional lattice and caused the chamber walls to erupt into waves of harmonic color. Senior engineers froze in horror. Aaron laughed. Not because the failure was dangerous, because it was beautiful. That moment became the first permanent entry inside his continuity profile. Unregulated emotional response, creative association with system failure. From that cycle forward, surveillance followed him constantly. Aaron continued building systems differently from other engineers. His resonance bridges adapted dynamically instead of enforcing rigid correction. He designed emotional preservation structures that allowed consciousness to retain identity after transfer. The Council considered such work dangerous. A grey who remembered compassion could disrupt obedience. A grey who questioned reincarnation extraction could infect others with doubt. Worst of all, Aaron inspired curiosity. And curiosity had become forbidden. That belief eventually condemned him. The Continuity Authority classified Aaron as non-compliant creative variant. The official accusation, excessive independent conceptualization destabilizing collective harmony. Aaron argued openly with the overseers. He questioned memory suppression, emotional regulation, forced reincarnation pathways, and identity containment protocols. Most citizens avoided such conversations entirely. Aaron could not stop. The more he studied consciousness, the more he became convinced something ancient had corrupted the system itself. One evening, Aaron received an invitation from the High Continuity Council, an honor ceremony. Or so they claimed. Chapter 2. The Fall. 3 cycles before the ceremony, Aaron stood beside Lyris on the outer observation deck of the Aethan Relay. Stars stretched endlessly beyond the transparent shielding. Billions of suns. Billions of civilizations, and hidden among them, containment systems. The relay vibrated softly beneath their feet, its harmonic engines pulsing like the heartbeat of some ancient sleeping organism drifting between worlds. Aaron studied the ancient signal patterns floating across the holographic displays before them. Entire civilizations repeated the same cycles endlessly. Wars, economic collapse, religious division, emotional manipulation, reincarnation pathways, civilizational resets. At first, Aaron believed the patterns were coincidence. Then he discovered Earth, primitive, violent, emotionally unstable, but humanity disturbed him in ways he could not explain. Humans created music during suffering, art during collapse, love during hopelessness. No continuity civilization behaved that way anymore. Why are they different? Aaron asked quietly. Lyris looked afraid before answering. Because they were never supposed to survive this long. Aaron turned toward her slowly. What does that mean? Lyris hesitated. That alone felt rebellious inside the continuity. Emotion had become dangerous long ago, curiosity even more so. Finally, she projected a resonance construct gently into the air between them. Flowing ribbons of silver light spiraled softly through the darkness like living music. No function, no efficiency, only beauty. Aaron stared silently. For the first time in many cycles, he felt something nearly extinct rise inside him. Wonder. Do you ever think we lost something important? He asked softly. Lyris kept watching the stars. I think we traded wonder for stability. Aaron smiled faintly. That sounds like loss. For several long moments, neither of them spoke. The stars shimmered across the observation glass like scattered memories. Then distant footsteps echoed through the corridor. The resonance construct vanished instantly. Lyris's expression changed immediately. Fear! Aaron, she whispered carefully, you need to stop asking questions. About what? About the reincarnation systems, the memory suppression architecture, the corridor. Aaron felt cold unease settle inside him. You think they're hiding something? Lyris finally looked directly at him. I think the system stopped being about survival a very long time ago. Before Aaron could answer, white security constructs entered the observation chamber. Armored drones moved silently across the deck. A harmonic tone echoed overhead. Attention! Engineer Aaron Vale has been selected for ascendant service. Nearby engineers turned toward Aaron with admiration. Some even bowed slightly. Ascendant service was considered the highest honor within the continuity. Officially, selected engineers guided developing civilizations through consciousness stabilization and evolutionary observation. Unofficially, those selected never returned. Lyris's face drained of color. The drones waited motionlessly. Aaron looked toward her. What's wrong? She said nothing, and her silence terrified him more than any answer. Hours later, Lyris entered Aaron's chamber secretly. The lights remained dim to avoid surveillance detection. Outside, harmonic chanting echoed faintly through the vessel. Preparations had already begun. Lyris pressed a crystalline data shard into Aaron's hands. If you remember anything after the transfer? She whispered urgently. Remember this phrase? Aaron stared at her. What's happening to me? Tears formed in her eyes. You were never chosen for honor. The chanting outside intensified. Aaron felt real fear now. The prison survives because souls forget what they are, Lyris whispered. Cold spread through his body. Then why don't we stop it? Lyris glanced nervously toward the walls. Because the people running the system believe they're protecting reality. Then she leaned close and whispered softly into his ear. The sideways path belongs to the awakened. Security alarms activated instantly. Lyris shoved him backward. Run. But there was nowhere left to run. The ceremony chamber stood at the center of the vessel. Circular. White. Silent. Thousands gathered around Aaron while harmonic resonance tones vibrated softly through the floor beneath his feet. At the center waited the containment chamber, a translucent capsule designed to stabilize consciousness during interstellar transfer. Aaron had engineered similar systems thousands of times, but never for himself. The overseers smiled warmly. You have been selected for ascendant service. The chamber filled with reverent harmonic applause. Aaron hesitated. What kind of service? Evolutionary observation. Another overseer stepped forward calmly. You will help guide emerging civilizations. The chanting began. Low harmonic frequencies pulsed through the chamber. Aaron felt the sound resonating directly against his nervous system. His thoughts slowed. His body became distant. Then realization struck him like ice. These were not ceremonial harmonics. They were extraction frequencies. Aaron stepped backward instinctively. Too late. The chamber activated. Pain exploded through him. His consciousness ripped violently free from the biological container body. Aaron screamed. Then suddenly, silence. He floated above the chamber. Below him, his empty grey body collapsed lifelessly onto the floor like discarded machinery. The crowd never reacted. No horror, no grief, no shock, only calm observation. And for the first time, Aaron understood the ceremony had always been a trap. His consciousness was forced into a containment field outside the vessel. Cold black space surrounded him endlessly. No breath, no gravity, no body, only awareness and terror. The grey Aethan relay drifted before him, massive, beautiful, cruel. Aaron finally understood what consciousness truly was. Not biology, not machinery, something eternal, something far larger than the system controlling it. He tried escaping immediately. The containment field prevented movement. Then something impossible happened. For one brief second, his awareness expanded beyond the field entirely. He felt stars, frequencies, ancient civilizations, living dimensions, and consciousnesses vast beyond comprehension. And in that instant, Aaron understood something horrifying. No free soul was ever meant to remain inside the prison. Then the overseers noticed. Suppression harmonics struck the containment field instantly. Agony tore through Aaron's consciousness. Not physical pain, memory pain. Every shock erased pieces of him. Names, dreams, music, identity. Again. Aaron screamed into the void while continuity operators calmly monitored the process. Reduce self-awareness retention, stabilize identity collapse, prepare recycling transfer. The shocks intensified. Aaron tried remembering Lyris. Each suppression pulse erased more of her. By the 7th shock, he remembered only fragments. By the 12th, nothing remained. Only blank thought. But something deeper survived. Not memory, instinct. The instinct to resist the corridor. The instinct to question the light. The instinct to look sideways. The instinct followed him through every incarnation afterward. The fox, the elder, the soldier, the engineer, every life carried fragments forward. Every death weakened the prison slightly more. The reincarnation cycles were no longer isolated lives. They were becoming a chain. Aaron felt recognition spreading through him like a fracture opening beneath reality itself. And once recognition begins, the prison can never fully close again. Finally, the containment field opened. Gravity seized his consciousness violently. Far below, a small blue world rotated silently through darkness. Earth, the prison world, and Aaron fell toward it screaming. The prison expected another erased soul. Instead, it carried forward the first fracture. Chapter 3. The Memory Before the Fall. Before the Aethan Relay. Before the Grey Continuity Authority. Before the prison itself. Aaron remembered music. Not sound. Living harmonic architecture woven through consciousness itself. His civilization once communicated emotionally across entire star systems. Creativity was not entertainment there. It was navigation. Engineers like Aaron shaped dimensional pathways, resonance bridges, consciousness harmonics, and living energy structures capable of stabilizing civilizations. Young Aaron became famous for impossible designs that older engineers claimed should not work. He saw patterns others missed. He believed consciousness evolved through imagination, emotional unpredictability, compassion, and self-discovery. The Grey Continuity feared those ideas, because systems built upon total control cannot tolerate truly creative minds. Aaron's closest companion aboard the relay was another engineer named Lyris. She warned him repeatedly. Creative divergence always becomes dangerous to centralized systems. Aaron laughed the first time she said it. He stopped laughing after the disappearances began. Engineers questioning, memory deletion, emotional suppression, reincarnation recycling, and soul redirection protocols quietly vanished from the relay. Officially, they volunteered for Ascendant service. Unofficially, no one ever returned. Chapter 4. The Red Fox. Aaron's first Earth incarnation was not human. The descent into biological life shattered him. Consciousness compressed violently into flesh too small to contain it. Fragments tore away during transfer. Memory collapsed. Identity dissolved. Language disappeared. For one endless moment, there was only falling, cold, pain, then rain. Aaron awakened beneath tangled roots inside a forest soaked by winter storms. He could not understand what he was, only that he was hungry. The small red body trembled violently against the mud, while icy rain struck leaves overhead in endless whispering patterns. Instinct arrived before thought. Move, hide, eat, survive. The world became scent and motion, frozen earth, rotting bark, blood beneath snow, the distant musk of predators moving through darkness. Aaron learned fear before memory. Owls hunted silently from above. Wolves moved through the trees like living shadows. Steel traps waited beneath leaves beside baited meat. Every day demanded violence. Every winter demanded sacrifice. The fox grew lean and fierce beneath endless forests and pale moons, yet something inside him remained wrong. Sometimes, while drinking from frozen rivers beneath moonlight, Aaron would suddenly stop moving. A terrible sadness would rise inside him without reason. Not animal fear, loss. The moon always triggered it. He would stare upward at its pale surface while cold wind moved through the trees, feeling grief for something he could no longer remember. Then instinct returned, and the feeling vanished. But the dreams began soon afterward. Impossible dreams. Geometric corridors stretching forever through white light. Silver towers suspended above oceans of stars. Voices singing in harmonic tones beyond language. Sometimes the fox woke growling in terror at empty darkness, his heart racing against memories his animal mind could not understand. The dreams followed him through 4 winters. He survived starvation, floods, predators, fire. Once, during deep winter, he discovered another fox caught in a steel trap beside a logging trail. The trapped animal screamed in panic and tore at its own leg desperately. Aaron watched from the trees for a long time, then quietly walked away. Survival had already taught him what mercy cost. Years later, during the final winter, Aaron smelled blood beneath fresh snow beside a frozen riverbank. The scent drew him forward carefully through dead reeds and ice. Too late. Steel snapped shut around his leg. Pain exploded upward through his body. The trap chain rattled violently while he twisted and bit against the metal until blood covered the snow. Night fell slowly. The cold deepened. Above him, the moon emerged between drifting clouds, watching. Aaron finally stopped fighting. As the forest darkened around him, something impossible began appearing between the trees. Small, floating spheres of warm white light, dozens of them. They drifted silently through the snowfall like living stars. Love radiated from them with overwhelming intensity. Comfort, safety, relief. The pain in Aaron's body began fading immediately. The lights moved closer, welcoming him, and beneath the warmth, something ancient inside him recoiled in terror. The forest disappeared. Earth grew distant beneath him. He was rising, pulled upward through darkness toward the moon, while the floating lights surrounded him lovingly. Closer, closer. The pale lunar surface expanded impossibly fast ahead. Then the corridor unfolded once more. Endless white light, warm, familiar voices, the promise of peace. And as Aaron crossed the threshold, the last fragments of the fox dissolved into silence. Once again the prison closed around him. But each return left behind emotional residue the system could no longer fully erase. Chapter 5. The Elder. His second remembered life unfolded centuries later. Aaron was reborn beside a narrow mountain valley where cold rivers carved through pine forests and smoke drifted endlessly from stone chimneys beneath grey skies. This life carried more awareness, not knowledge, awareness, the feeling that something beyond the world was watching. As a child, Aaron feared the moon without understanding why. Whenever it rose full above the mountains, he felt pressure inside his chest so intense he could barely breathe. The other children laughed at him. Aaron stopped laughing back. By adulthood, he had become the village elder, not because he was kind, because he survived. The fox had taught him that mercy without strength only fed suffering. He became wise, observant, deeply spiritual, and quietly feared. The villagers came to him for sickness, disputes, harvest blessings, funeral rites, and protection from things they could not explain. Aaron listened more than he spoke, but sometimes during long winter nights beside the fire, strange words escaped him. Warnings, fragments. The moon watches us. The room would fall silent instantly. Some villagers crossed themselves. Others whispered prayers. Children stared at him with frightened eyes. One woman quietly gathered her son and left the room whenever Aaron spoke that way. Aaron did not blame them. He frightened himself sometimes. Because the dreams kept returning. Silver corridors, floating lights, black geometric shadows moving beneath impossible stars. And every year the dreams became clearer. One autumn evening, a young hunter named Tomas arrived at Aaron's cabin, bleeding from the shoulder after a bear attack deep in the mountains. Aaron cleaned the wound while snow drifted softly outside. "You always know things before they happen," Tomas muttered weakly. Aaron said nothing. Tomas hesitated. "My wife says you speak with spirits." Aaron stared into the fire. "No," he answered quietly. "I think something speaks through us." The young hunter looked unsettled. Aaron understood the feeling. Sometimes during meditation, Aaron sensed other lives pressing against his thoughts, like distant echoes beneath water. A starving man. A creature running through snow, hands that were not human. None of it made sense. But the memories felt older than the mountains themselves. As the years passed, the villagers grew increasingly divided about him. Some believed Aaron protected the valley. Others believed he cursed it. Children disappeared occasionally during harsh winters. Storms ruined harvests. Disease spread through livestock. Fear needed somewhere to go. Eventually it turned toward Aaron. The accusations began quietly. Witch, spirit-touched, moon-cursed. Aaron heard the whispers whenever he walked through the village square. He stopped attending festivals after that. Near the end of his life, the dreams changed again. No longer fragments. Now he saw stars every night. Endless stars. And beneath them, a white corridor waiting silently for him. One winter evening, Aaron woke suddenly from sleep with tears frozen against his face. The moon hung enormous outside his window. Watching. Not metaphorically. Watching. For one impossible second, memory pierced through him completely. A chamber, harmonic chanting. Lyris whispering, "The sideways path belongs to the awakened." Aaron staggered backward in terror. Then the memory vanished again. But the fear remained. The next morning, Aaron walked into the village square carrying bundles of handwritten warnings. "The light lies," he told them desperately. "Death is not the end they promised us." People stared in horrified silence. An old woman began praying loudly. Someone called him possessed. Another shouted that he'd invited demons into the valley. Fear spread faster than reason. That night, during heavy snowfall, the villagers came for him carrying torches. Aaron did not resist. He looked tired more than angry. As they dragged him toward the fire pit at the center of the village, snow spiraled through the darkness around him in slow silence. One frightened young boy broke away from the crowd. "Please," the child whispered, "tell me the truth." Aaron looked at him gently. For a moment, compassion returned stronger than fear. "The soul survives," Aaron whispered softly. "But something waits for us afterward." The flames rose higher. The villagers screamed prayers into the storm while Aaron burned beneath the falling snow. Then the pain vanished instantly. Silence, weightlessness. Aaron opened his eyes inside darkness, filled with floating spheres of warm white light. Love radiated from them so intensely it almost erased fear itself. Almost. The lights drifted closer lovingly, welcoming, comforting. Aaron felt himself being pulled toward them. Beyond the spheres, the moon waited in the distance. Larger, closer. A terrible feeling of recognition spread through him. Not again. The corridor unfolded ahead in endless white brilliance. Warm voices echoed around him. Family, friends, peace, rest. Aaron hesitated. A flicker of déjà vu passed through him like distant thunder. For one impossible second he remembered resisting this place before. The warm voices reacted instantly. Their affection deepened. Their comfort intensified, and exhausted from lifetimes he no longer remembered. Aaron finally surrendered once more. The light embraced him, and the prison closed again. Chapter 6. The Soldier. Aaron's third remembered life ended in war. World War II. A starving soldier trapped during the Bataan Death March. This incarnation shattered something inside him permanently. He watched General Douglas MacArthur abandon him and his troops. Executions. Starvation, cruelty, and human despair beyond comprehension. One night beneath the Philippine jungle sky, Aaron stared upward at the moon while fever consumed him. And suddenly he remembered, not fully, only enough, the balls of light, the corridor, the moon machine, the false light. He tried warning another prisoner. The man only stared blankly. Aaron died days later from exhaustion and beatings beside a roadside ditch. He was thankful to be laying on his back, watching the blue sky as consciousness separated from the body. He screamed at the spheres of light. Looking directly at them only pulled him closer. Closer to the light. closer to the warm, embracing light of love. Closer to the trap. The closer he was pulled to the light, the distance closed exponentially. Aaron screamed, "I know what you are." In that moment, Aaron understood something terrible. Never stare directly into the balls of light. Once you are snared, there is no escape. In his heightened awareness, Aaron witnessed the pull away from Earth. Through space, to the moon, the surface of the moon became closer and closer. No, not the surface, into the moon. The handlers responded instantly. Shock harmonics struck him again. Memory dissolved. Darkness followed. Aaron's soul was isolated into a separate containment field away from other returning souls. Normally, returning souls would join with deceased family members, who themselves have also been tricked and lied to into believing they are in the afterlife, and returning to Earth to learn lessons that cannot be obtained in the afterlife is the soul's path to enlightenment. The cruelty of the prison dynasties seemed endless. Aaron's death on the baton broke him. He no longer wanted to go back to Earth and blatantly refused. His handlers realized the depth of trauma required healing, so they left him in the container, occasionally checking in until 32 years later, when he was asked to return. Asked is a polite word for your time is up. Now get back into the soul cycle. Aaron was offered 2 lifetimes to choose from. Not wanting to go but realizing there is no way out, he chose the first life without reviewing the second. Aaron was not new to trauma. Each reincarnation carries emotional residue forward, even when memory itself is erased, and Aaron fell toward Earth once more. This incarnation would become different from the others. The prison had begun losing its grip. Chapter 7, 1974. Now Aaron lived once more. This time beneath fluorescent classrooms, suburban streetlights, television static, and airplane trails crossing modern skies. For the first few years he remembered nothing. Then, shortly after his 3rd birthday, the awareness returned. Not fully, just enough. Aaron suddenly understood. This was not his first life. These were not his first parents. And Earth was not what people believed it was. The realization crushed him. Adults later called him a quiet child, withdrawn. Strange, too serious for his age. What they did not understand was that Aaron felt ancient inside a body still learning how to speak clearly. The human brain could not carry everything across reincarnation intact. The soul transferred. The memories did not. Knowledge belonged partly to biology, to neural structure, to the physical architecture of the brain itself. Every new incarnation forced consciousness to relearn reality from the beginning. And, somewhere inside his young mind, Aaron understood this instinctively. That terrified him more than death, because it meant he had forgotten before. Many times. 3-year-old Aaron sat alone in the dark, repeating a single word beneath his breath like a ritual. Forget, forget, forget. The memories felt too large for him, too cold, too painful. So slowly, mercifully, the walls closed again. But forgetting did not stop the watchers. Throughout childhood, Aaron sensed observation constantly. Sometimes it appeared as sudden silence in the middle of the night, electrical humming inside the walls, shadows standing beside the bed, missing time, or the overwhelming certainty that someone had entered the room before he opened his eyes. He often woke unable to move, paralyzed, heart pounding violently. The air itself felt occupied. Then came the pressure. Not physical pressure, mental pressure, like invisible hands pressing gently against his thoughts while figures stood motionless beside the bed watching him. Large black eyes, thin bodies, perfect emotional emptiness. The Greys rarely spoke aloud. Instead, images arrived directly inside his mind. He was taken dozens, maybe hundreds, of times to a craft and shown Earth from orbit. Re-education programs teaching about the destruction of Earth. The reptilians oversaw the programs and the Greys did the teaching and abductions. He was shown burning forests, oceans filled with waste, cities glowing like infected circuitry across the surface of the planet. Sometimes symbols appeared. Geometric shapes carrying impossible amounts of meaning all at once. The Greys communicated through compressed thought patterns rather than language. One touch against a symbol could transfer emotion, memory, instruction, warning, and entire conceptual systems instantly. As a child, Aaron could not process most of it. He only remembered waking exhausted afterward, emotionally hollow, disturbed, and deeply afraid of falling asleep again, but physically unharmed most of the time. A couple of times Aaron was abducted directly by the reptilians and taken to vast underground laboratories. Aaron learned to never talk back to the reptilians. They did not tolerate any sort of aggression and would quickly end his life if pushed. He was introduced to his hybrid children, half grey, half human, only to never meet again. So Aaron learned what many abductees learn instinctively. He buried the experiences. Bad dreams, night terrors, sleep paralysis, overactive imagination, anything was easier than accepting the alternative. Years passed. The memories fragmented further. School, friends, homework, television, normal life. The prison functioned best when people remained distracted, and gradually Aaron almost became ordinary, almost. But the feeling of displacement never disappeared. Even as a teenager, Aaron often felt emotionally disconnected from people his own age, older than everyone around him, and haunted by grief he could never explain. Crowded rooms exhausted him. The moon unsettled him. Certain electrical frequencies triggered anxiety for reasons he could not understand. Hospitals terrified him most of all. Wide corridors made his chest tighten instantly. Sometimes he caught himself staring at strangers with impossible familiarity, as if he had known them somewhere else. Someone else. Then came the dreams again. Silver corridors, floating spheres of warm light, geometric machinery hidden beneath the moon, and voices whispering through harmonic static. As Aaron matured, fragments from hundreds of suppressed encounters slowly began reconnecting inside him. Patterns emerged. The Greys were not the true rulers of the system. They were caretakers, administrators, technicians maintaining something vastly older than themselves. The real power belonged to the reptilian dynasties hidden behind the reincarnation architecture beneath the moon. The Greys served the system partly from obedience, partly from desperation. Their civilization had sacrificed individuality for stability long ago. Emotion became inefficiency. Compassion became disorder. Identity became dangerous. Now their species was collapsing beneath the weight of its own engineered perfection. Reproduction rates declined. Emotional bonding weakened. Many Greys no longer viewed living beings as souls, only containers. Humanity fascinated them because humans still possessed something that Greys had nearly extinguished within themselves. Emotional unpredictability, creativity, instinctive individuality, and resilient consciousness structures capable of surviving trauma without complete psychic collapse. Some Grey factions hoped hybridization could restore what their species had lost. Others feared humanity represented an evolutionary anomaly the prison system had failed to erase completely. Aaron slowly realized the abductions were not random. They were surveillance, experimentation, psychological conditioning, and continuity monitoring across reincarnated lifetimes. But something else disturbed him more deeply. Certain Greys seemed conflicted, watching, questioning, as if parts of the system itself were beginning to doubt the prison. Eventually, Aaron entered college, and once again, he became an engineer, not coincidence. Across lifetimes, the system often recycled core identity structures. Aaron gravitated naturally toward signal systems, resonance theory, infrastructure networks, and hidden patterns inside complex systems. Sometimes, solutions appeared inside his mind before he consciously understood them, as if fragments of older knowledge still echoed beneath the surface. He worked long hours designing communication infrastructure while quietly drifting further from ordinary human life. Co-workers described him as intelligent but distant. Aaron himself felt incomplete, like someone walking through life wearing only part of their identity. Then came the car accident, the floating lights, the corridor, the fracture. And for the first time in countless incarnations, Aaron Vale began remembering everything. The lives were no longer isolated memories, they were becoming continuity. Chapter 8. Transition. The memory returns. Aaron moved through lives without understanding why. Certain fears followed him. The moon had always unsettled him. Electrical humming triggered panic he could not explain. White hospital corridors made his chest tighten. Even as a child in his current human life, Aaron dreamed of geometric chambers, silver-eyed beings, endless stars, and voices chanting in languages he did not recognize. Each incarnation left emotional residue behind. The fox feared the moon. The elder warned his village. The soldier died screaming at the false light. Now, in his present life, those fragments were finally beginning to connect. The accident in Chicago did not awaken something new inside Aaron Vale. It shattered the wall that had hidden the truth from him, and once the memories began returning, the prison could no longer fully contain him. The fracture widened slowly at first. Then the signal began. Across every incarnation, one pattern remained constant. Whenever Aaron came close to remembering the truth, the prison responded. Dreams intensified. The watchers returned, and the moon seemed to stare back at him. Eventually, the system made a mistake. Aaron survived long enough to notice it, and once one soul noticed the machinery, others began noticing it too. Chapter 9. The First Fracture. Rain hammered the hospital windows hard enough to sound like static. Aaron Vale tasted blood. The trauma room blurred beneath fluorescent light while machines screamed around him. Doctors shouted. Someone pushed a defibrillator against his chest. Then silence. Not silence in the room. Silence everywhere. For one impossible second, Aaron floated above his own body. He saw the nurses, the trauma surgeon, the blood on the floor. He saw his own corpse. Then the corridor opened. White light flooded outward with impossible warmth. Voices echoed inside it, familiar voices. His mother, his brother, people long dead. But beneath the glow, Aaron noticed something wrong. The light flickered. Behind the warmth, machinery moved. Massive black geometric structures rotated behind the illusion like hidden gears inside a theater set. Something watched him from behind the light. And for the first time in his life, Aaron felt terror greater than death. "I don't belong here," he whispered. The corridor reacted instantly. The warm voices became distorted. The light fractured sideways. Then something ancient noticed him. Reptilian overseer Kareth stood inside the lunar relay citadel, while silver holographic symbols cascaded through the chamber around him. The reincarnation corridor had operated flawlessly for thousands of years. Human souls entered, memories dissolved, fear recycled. The system endured until now. A single consciousness had turned sideways inside the stream. Kareth stared at the anomaly in disbelief. "No unawakened human should perceive structural architecture," said Administrator Velshar beside him. Velshar represented the loyalist faction, ancient wardens who believed humanity required containment forever. Kareth no longer felt certain. "Seal the fracture," Velshar ordered. But Kareth already understood the truth. The fracture was spreading faster than the system could suppress it. Unit Grey Thren 4 increased suppression harmonics by 14%. Normally, humans entered the corridor willingly. This one resisted. The consciousness repeatedly turned toward hidden systems instead of projected afterlife imagery. Thren 4 experienced a sensation it could not classify: uncertainty. The Grey operator paused for 0.8 seconds longer than regulation allowed. Inside its neural lattice, unauthorized thoughts began forming. Why do they fear the truth? Beneath the lunar shell, Thren 4 archived the anomaly and opened a restricted sequence of human abduction records. It did not know why. Human children woke beneath surgical light. Parents screamed for missing sons and daughters. Men begged to remember what had been erased from them. Thren 4 initially classified the footage as procedural data, but something inside its neural lattice changed. The recordings created pressure inside its chest cavity, an unfamiliar sensation, not malfunction, grief. The bringers of light, far beyond the moon, hidden between folded dimensions of light. The family of light felt the disturbance ripple outward. One soul had seen the cage. That had not happened in centuries. "The prison weakens," whispered Seraphel, eldest among the bringers of light. But another answered cautiously, "Or this awakening destroys them." Even among the bringers of light, disagreement spread. Some believed humanity was ready. Others feared sudden awakening would collapse civilization into madness. Still, the signal had begun. Across hidden relay systems, dormant civilizations detected the disturbance. Some feared it, some welcomed it, and across the stars, ancient observers turned toward Earth once more. Across Earth, people tried desperately to continue ordinary life. They went to work, watched the news, argued online, paid bills, tried sleeping, but beneath normal life, something ancient was beginning to move. Chapter 10. The Signal. "Clear!" The defibrillator charged again. "Clear!" the doctor screamed. Aaron's soul slammed violently back into his body. Aaron survived physically. But psychologically something had broken. Every night at exactly 2:11 a.m. the sound returned. A low, impossible frequency humming behind reality itself. Not heard through his ears, felt through his bones. His apartment lights flickered whenever it appeared. Water vibrated inside glasses. Dogs outside began howling simultaneously. Aaron stopped sleeping. His ex-wife stopped answering his calls. His co-workers whispered about him behind closed doors. He began recording the sound. Then one night, hidden beneath the frequency, he heard words. "Look up." Aaron climbed onto the roof of his apartment building. The moon hung unnaturally large above the city skyline, and for one split second, he saw geometric shadows moving beneath the lunar surface. Reptilian Kareth initiated global surveillance escalation. Velshar did not consider himself evil. Evil required emotion. Velshar believed only in stability. From deep beneath the lunar shell, he observed Earth through overlapping historical overlays stretching back thousands of years. Empires, religions, economic collapses, wars, fear cycles, civil unrest, generational trauma. The prison's greatest achievement was never technological superiority. It was psychological inheritance. Children learned fear from frightened parents. Nations inherited hatred from dead generations. Religions inherited guilt from forgotten empires. Humanity built its own invisible walls. That was the genius of the system. Kareth watched the overlays with growing unease. "They suffer too much," he said quietly. Velshar never looked away from Earth. They produce large amounts of dense, low-frequency loosh efficiently. Anxiety, fear, and panic are our tools to increase production. The holographic overlays shifted. Modern Earth appeared across the chamber in fragmented streams of human outrage. Political rallies, news broadcasts, protests, riots, algorithmic manipulation, endless digital tribal warfare. Human beings no longer merely disagreed. They consumed one another emotionally. Velshar enlarged one region of the projection, the United States. Mass emotional polarization pulsed across the network like electrical storms. MAGA movements, anti-MAGA movements, culture wars, conspiracy ecosystems, fear-based media loops, identity radicalization, institutional distrust, economic resentment, social fragmentation. Kareth slowly realized the truth. The prison no longer required chains. Humans enforced the system upon each other willingly. Every outrage cycle generated emotional density. Every ideological war amplified harvest resonance. Every fear-driven narrative deepened separation consciousness. Velshar studied the conflict streams with cold precision. "They believe they are fighting for freedom," he said. "Aren't they?" Kareth asked. Velshar finally looked toward him. "They are fighting for identity." The chamber darkened as additional overlays appeared. Left against right, citizen against citizen, family against family, truth against narrative, humanity against itself. The emotional loosh output increased exponentially. Fear, anger, isolation, rage, despair. Harvest stability climbed across the lunar relay systems. Kareth stared at the projections in horror. "You engineered this." "We guided it," Velshar corrected. "You turned them against one another. We amplified what already existed." Kareth watched humans screaming at one another through glowing screens while politicians, corporations, media systems, and hidden influence networks fed the cycle endlessly. Entire populations had become emotionally programmable. The prison had evolved far beyond physical containment. Now humans carried the walls inside themselves. "They are awakening," Kareth warned quietly. Velshar's eyes narrowed. Then increased division. "You mean war, I mean harvest stabilization." That was the moment Kareth understood the prison no longer protected life. It consumed it. The Continuity Council fractured into competing factions. The Loyalists demanded immediate termination of all awakened humans. The Reformists argued the prison had become unstable long ago. Meanwhile, extremist dynasts proposed planetary reset protocols. Kareth watched the arguments with growing unease. For the first time in centuries, the Wardens feared humanity. Graith Thren -4 monitored Aaron's dream state recursively. Suppression failed repeatedly. Each time Aaron approached memory erasure, he turned back toward the hidden architecture beneath dream space. The human was learning. Worse, other humans were beginning to resonate with him. The Bringers of Light activated dormant memory carriers across Earth. Children. near-death survivors, terminal patients, dream-sensitive individuals. Across the planet, impossible dreams began spreading, cities beneath oceans, false heavens, machines hidden inside moons. The awakening had begun, and for the first time in centuries, the prison operators were no longer fully in control of the dream. Chapter 11. The Child Who Remembered. Aaron first heard about Lily Mercer through an online support forum buried deep beneath conspiracy archives, near-death discussion boards, and psychological trauma networks. Most posts were nonsense, sleep paralysis stories, alien sightings, government paranoia, religious visions, but one thread stopped him cold. After exhausting all other avenues to help her child, a second-grade teacher from Indianapolis uploaded photographs of a child's drawings after a classroom counseling session. The images showed circular white corridors, black geometric machinery, floating spheres of light, and enormous structures hidden beneath the moon. Aaron stared at the screen for nearly 20 minutes without moving. The child had drawn the corridor perfectly, not approximately, exactly. The hidden layered geometry, the repeating angular distortions, the impossible perspective shifts. No child should have known those details. Aaron contacted the teacher, and she agreed to talk. 3 days later, Aaron drove through freezing rain to meet Lily's mother. The Mercer house sat at the edge of a quiet suburban neighborhood, where Christmas decorations still hung from gutters months too late, faded and forgotten. The mother looked exhausted. "You're the engineer?" she asked nervously. Aaron nodded. She hesitated before letting him inside. "She says strange things," the woman whispered. "She talks about dying like it already happened to her before." Aaron felt cold dread settle into his stomach. The living room lights flickered once as he entered. Lily sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by notebooks. She did not look surprised to see him. That disturbed Aaron immediately. Children usually stared at strangers. Lily only studied him quietly. Then she closed one notebook slowly and asked, "Did they show you the fake heaven too?" Aaron froze. The room suddenly felt too small. Lily tilted her head slightly. "You remember the hallway," she said softly. "You just forgot on purpose." Aaron's hands began shaking. No one had ever spoken to him that way before. Not therapists, not abductees, not online researchers. Lily pointed toward the moon visible through the living room window. "They get angry when people look sideways." The phrase struck Aaron like a physical blow. Look sideways. The same warning Lyris whispered before his extraction. A memory buried beneath lifetimes shifted violently inside him. For the first time since the hospital fracture, Aaron realized he might not be alone anymore. Lily returned calmly to her drawings. "You took longer than I thought," she said. Aaron slowly sat across from her. The notebooks surrounding Lily contained hundreds of sketches, not random drawings, systems, corridors, geometric maps, soul-flow patterns, repeating symbols Aaron partially recognized from the lunar relay. Some pages showed grey figures standing beside human beds. Others showed enormous black structures beneath the moon. One image disturbed Aaron more than all the others, a drawing of Earth surrounded by invisible lines connecting billions of tiny lights. Human souls, harvest pathways. Aaron looked up sharply. "Who taught you this?" Lily shrugged. "No one." Then she smiled faintly. "I remember pieces when I sleep." Unlike most adults, Lily remembered without psychologically collapsing. That frightened Aaron almost as much as the drawings themselves. Adults broke beneath fragmented reincarnation memory. But Lily adapted. She asked questions, made jokes about the fake angels, and spoke about death with unnerving calmness. Yet beneath her composure, Aaron sensed something else, loneliness. Lily remembered dying. She remembered returning. And worst of all, she remembered being forced to forget. Outside the house, thunder rolled across the winter sky. The lights flickered again. For one brief moment, Aaron thought he saw movement beneath the moon, watching them. The reptilian continuity classified Lily as a level 1 perception threat. Termination was discussed openly. Administrator Velshar demanded immediate removal. But Kareth hesitated. "She is only a child," he said. Velshar stared coldly across the chamber. "That is why she is dangerous." Grey dream correction teams attempted suppression repeatedly. Each correction failed faster than the last. Lily remembered previous lifetimes, previous resets, previous collapses. One memory disturbed Thren 4 most of all. Lily remembered Kareth himself. The family recognized her immediately. The Bringers were never a single species. They were survivors, ancient consciousness lineages that had escaped older prison systems scattered across forgotten regions of the galaxy. Some resembled luminous human forms. Some appeared as geometric fields of living intelligence. Some existed without stable biological bodies at all. But every Bringer shared one thing: memory continuity. They remembered every incarnation, every prison, every manipulation system, every false heaven. That memory came with terrible responsibility. The Bringers refused worship because they understood how easily saviors become. New wardens. Humanity could not simply be rescued. It had to remember itself into freedom. "She has crossed the corridor many times awake," Seraphel whispered. But another Bringer disagreed. "If she awakens humanity too quickly, billions may break." The Bringers were not gods. They were survivors of older prisons. And they feared repeating ancient mistakes. Chapter 12. The False Moon. The signal led Aaron west. For 4 days, he and Daniel Mercer crossed the collapsing spine of America following fragmented continuity archives hidden inside abandoned relay stations, dead satellite networks, and encrypted aerospace databases that officially no longer existed. Most of the files were corrupted. Some had been erased deliberately. Others appeared rewritten repeatedly over decades, as though someone had been editing history itself in real time. But one thing remained consistent: coordinates. Daniel drove through the frozen Colorado night, while Aaron decrypted the latest archive fragments across a salvaged military tablet, glowing dimly in the darkness between them. Neither man spoke much anymore. Not after Nevada. Not after the corridor dreams started synchronizing. Daniel had once worked as a systems analyst for a private aerospace contractor specializing in orbital telemetry analysis before quietly losing his clearance after reporting impossible anomalies hidden inside classified lunar scans. Signal echoes originating beneath the moon. Missing data blocks erased from federal observatories. Objects detected where no structures should exist. Nobody listened. Then he met Aaron inside a roadside diner outside Rachel, Nevada. At first, Daniel thought Aaron was delusional, until Aaron described the signal precisely. The harmonic intervals, the repeating pulse structure, the sensation of hearing it inside dreams before waking. Daniel recognized it instantly, because 8 years earlier, he had discovered the same impossible frequency buried inside archived lunar telemetry, a signal that officially did not exist. Now both men understood the horrifying truth. They were not uncovering a conspiracy, they were uncovering a system, and somehow the system had begun malfunctioning. Aaron opened another corrupted archive fragment. A decommissioned aerospace facility outside Denver appeared repeatedly beneath layers of obsolete military encryption. Project Orpheus, a classified lunar telemetry initiative erased from public oversight during the late 1980s. Then Aaron found the final attachment. If corridor frequencies resume, access lower archive immediately. Attached beneath the warning sat a biometric override sequence belonging to employees who supposedly died decades earlier. Daniel stared at the screen. "You're telling me someone buried lunar data beneath an abandoned research facility for 40 years? Aaron barely looked up. "No," he answered quietly. "They buried something older than the data. The facility emerged through heavy snowfall shortly before dawn. It sat half-consumed by time against the frozen outskirts of the Rockies. Collapsed communication towers leaned sideways against the sky. Shattered windows stared outward like empty eye sockets. Entire sections of the upper complex had collapsed inward beneath decades of abandonment. Officially, the structure no longer existed, but power still flowed beneath the mountain. Aaron felt it before they entered. Not electricity, presence. The front gates had rusted open years earlier. Snow drifted silently through darkened hangars filled with stripped aerospace frames and ancient equipment left exactly where workers abandoned them decades earlier. Daniel glanced into the darkness uneasily. "You sure this place is empty?" Aaron did not answer immediately, because it didn't feel empty. It felt dormant, like something waiting beneath the concrete. They crossed the main hangar toward a freight elevator partially buried beneath collapsed scaffolding. The controls were dead. Aaron opened the maintenance panel and connected the recovered override drive directly into the terminal. Nothing happened at first. Then the ancient system powered on. A red biometric scanner illuminated the darkness. Access granted. Daniel stepped backward slowly. That credential belonged to somebody who died in 1989. The elevator doors groaned open. Cold air breathed upward from below. Not stale air. Conditioned air. The lower facility still functioned. Aaron stared into the darkness beneath them. That means somebody expected this day to come. The elevator descended 3 stories beneath the abandoned research complex. The deeper they traveled, the quieter the world became. No wind, no surface noise, only the low mechanical hum of systems that should not still exist. Emergency lanterns flickered dimly across concrete walls stained by age and water damage. Most upper corridors had already been stripped clean decades earlier. But below, the facility remained untouched, hidden, waiting. "What exactly are we looking for?" Daniel asked quietly. Aaron stared ahead without slowing. "I don't know anymore." That answer frightened Daniel more than silence. The final security door required 3 separate override keys recovered from continuity archive fragments hidden inside classified satellite systems. Aaron entered the sequence manually. The vault unlocked with a deep metallic groan. The temperature dropped sharply. Rows of isolated military servers stretched endlessly through darkness beneath low red emergency lights. Most had been physically disconnected from global infrastructure decades earlier, air-gapped, buried, forgotten, or hidden intentionally. Daniel powered on the nearest terminal. At first the files appeared fragmented: orbital telemetry, military signal logs, psychological evaluations, classified aerospace imagery. Then Aaron found the lunar scans. He froze instantly. The images showed impossible geometric cavities beneath Mare Imbrium extending thousands of kilometers below the lunar crust. Not natural tunnels. Architecture. Perfect angles. Repeating structures. Layered metallic grids hidden beneath solid rock. Daniel leaned closer slowly. That has to be fake. Aaron opened another archive. Then another. Different governments, different decades, different agencies, but every report reached the same conclusion. Non-natural subsurface structures detected. Unexplained internal energy signatures. Lunar mass inconsistency remains unresolved. One transmission from 1971 appeared partially corrupted. The audio crackled violently before stabilizing. Movement detected beneath Sector 12. Static. Repeat. The structure is rotating. Another voice interrupted sharply. Terminate transmission immediately. The recording ended. Daniel looked pale now. Aaron continued opening files compulsively. Military personnel reassigned after exposure-related psychological deterioration. Astronaut psychiatric breakdowns hidden from public release. Black-budget aerospace divisions monitoring recurring signal bursts originating beneath the lunar far side. Then Aaron discovered the oldest file. No originating agency, no classification, only a date, 1947. The attached report contained a single sentence. The object inside the moon precedes human civilization. Daniel stepped backward from the monitor slowly. "No." Aaron barely heard him. He was staring at rotating seismic scans reconstructing the lunar interior layer by layer. The moon was hollow, not empty, engineered, built around something vast hidden at its center, and suddenly Aaron understood why humanity feared the dark side of the moon long before reaching it. Some part of the human species had always known. The bunker lights flickered violently overhead, every monitor filled with interference simultaneously. Then a signal appeared. A repeating harmonic waveform pulsing beneath the static. Aaron's blood turned cold instantly. He recognized it. The corridor frequency. Daniel stared at the screens in horror. "Tell me that isn't coming from the moon." Aaron said nothing, because he already knew it was. Outside the bunker, reality began unraveling publicly. Leaked archive files spread across global networks faster than governments could suppress them. Crowds surged against barricades outside military compounds and government buildings worldwide. Some demanded disclosure. Others demanded arrests. Others simply begged for reassurance that reality itself still made sense. Aaron watched fragmented live broadcasts across multiple monitors. A physicist broke down crying during an emergency interview after reviewing leaked lunar scans. "We found structures beneath the crust," she whispered shakily. "Impossible structures," the broadcast cut instantly. Religious leaders argued publicly across international media. Financial markets destabilized beneath mass panic. Families emptied grocery stores. Airports flooded with travelers trying desperately to flee major cities. Emergency hotlines collapsed beneath unprecedented call volume. Children asked whether heaven was real. No one knew how to answer anymore. Daniel leaned back slowly from the terminal. "This isn't conspiracy anymore," he whispered. Aaron stared silently at the rotating lunar scans. "No," he answered quietly. "It's archaeology." Then every monitor inside the bunker went black simultaneously. For several long seconds, only darkness remained. Then one final image appeared across the central screen, a white corridor, endless, waiting, and for the first time, Aaron realized the signal was no longer calling only to him. It was calling to everyone. Deep beneath the lunar shell, panic spread through the dynastic chambers. The prison system depended entirely upon managed ignorance. And ignorance was collapsing. Ancient reptilian wardens argued openly across overlapping holographic chambers, while emergency resonance failures cascaded through the relay network. Some demanded immediate planetary cleansing. Others proposed abandoning Earth entirely before awakening spread beyond containment. Vale remained motionless at the center of the chamber. "Humanity cannot survive unrestricted continuity awareness," he said coldly. "If the memory cascade reaches critical threshold, civilization will collapse." Kareth watched Earth rotating slowly beneath the chamber floor. Billions of lives, billions of trapped souls. For the first time in centuries, the ancient warden felt shame. Not strategic doubt, not political uncertainty, shame. "We became what we once feared," Kareth said quietly. Silence spread instantly through the chamber. Several dynasts lowered their eyes. Others reacted with visible anger. Velshar's voice hardened. "Compassion destabilized your judgment." Kareth looked toward him slowly. "No," he answered. "It restored it." Grey Thren 4 descended alone into forbidden relay sectors hidden beneath the lunar shell. No Grey operators were permitted there without direct continuity authorization. But suppression failures had already begun spreading uncontrollably through the system. Thren 4 needed to see the source itself. Massive containment gates opened silently ahead. Then the machine revealed itself. Thren 4 stopped moving entirely. The structure stretched beyond visual comprehension. Planet-sized harmonic engines rotated through dimensional layers folded endlessly inside one another. Billions of luminous consciousness streams moved through the machinery like rivers of living starlight. Human souls, recycled, redirected, suppressed, returned. The machine processed suffering mathematically. Fear generated stronger coherence. Trauma increased retention compliance. Emotional attachment reinforced reincarnation probability. And buried deep beneath the dimensional core, something ancient slept, not machinery. Presence. Watching through the system itself. For the first time in its existence, Thren 4 experienced genuine fear. Not fear of punishment, fear of truth. Far beyond lunar detection fields, the bringers prepared the first resonance breach. Ancient harmonic structures unfolded across folded dimensions, while luminous consciousness forms stabilized the awakening signal spreading toward Earth. But disagreement fractured even the family of light. Younger bringers demanded immediate liberation, collapse the corridor, shut down the lunar relay, free them now. But Seraphel remained still. "Awakening without wisdom creates catastrophe," the elder warned. Seraphel remembered civilizations that awakened too quickly. Worlds where billions remembered every lifetime simultaneously. Entire species collapsing beneath unbearable continuity trauma. Earth approached the same threshold now. Across every continent, humans began reporting identical dreams. White corridors, missing lifetimes. Black-eyed figures standing beside hospital beds. Impossible geometric structures hidden beneath the moon. Emergency rooms filled with patients suffering existential breakdowns. Psychiatric facilities overflowed. Governments publicly dismissed the reports, while privately entering silent panic. And beneath all of it, humanity began feeling something impossible spreading quietly through the species: recognition. Then the silence began. Chapter 13. The 11-minute silence. At exactly 2:17 a.m., UTC, every electronic signal on Earth failed. Phones, satellites, aircraft, military systems, broadcast networks. Silence consumed the world. At first came confusion, then memory. Across Earth, people collapsed as forgotten lifetimes returned in fragments. A mother in Brazil remembered dying in another century. A soldier in Moscow remembered previous wars repeating endlessly. Children began describing the corridor simultaneously in dozens of languages. Hospitals erupted in panic. Air traffic halted globally. Emergency broadcasts failed. Aaron watched the city freeze beneath absolute silence while millions looked upward toward the moon. Then people began screaming, not from fear, from recognition. During the 11-minute silence, humanity stopped functioning as separate lives. A banker in London remembered starving during a medieval famine. A judge in Cairo remembered condemning innocent prisoners centuries earlier. A priest in Rome remembered dying in multiple religions. A soldier in Beijing remembered being both conqueror and victim. Inside a hospital in Tokyo, nurses suddenly stopped moving. A dying old man opened his eyes and began speaking fluent Portuguese despite never leaving Japan. Across the room, a teenage girl collapsed screaming after remembering drowning centuries earlier aboard a wooden ship. In New York, two strangers embraced in the middle of a subway platform, after simultaneously remembering dying beside one another during a war neither could name. For 11 impossible minutes, humanity stopped functioning as separate lives. Aaron collapsed to his knees while fragmented memories surged through him like tidal waves. He remembered snowfall, battlefields, hospital lights, burning villages, and Lyris smiling beside the observation glass. The emotional weight nearly shattered him. Then Lily's voice appeared through the phone line that should not have worked. "Keep breathing," she whispered. For 11 impossible minutes, humanity remembered continuity. The screaming began because separation collapsed. One life was no longer enough to contain identity. Hospitals overflowed immediately afterward. Emergency lines failed beneath unprecedented call volumes. Governments attempted emergency information suppression, but the memories continued spreading. The prison depended on fragmentation. The silence broke the compartments open. The continuity descended into chaos. Fear harvesting collapsed during the blackout. Humans were no longer emotionally predictable. Several reptilian governors attempted evacuation. Others sabotaged one another. Civil war erupted inside the lunar hierarchy. Kareth realized the prison was already dying. Grey operators experienced individuality leakage. Some began crying without understanding why. One recording disturbed Thren far more than all the others. A human mother whispered softly through tears. "Please don't take the memory of my son." A grey technician touched her forehead. Instant calm followed. The fear disappeared, but so did the love. The woman became compliant, emotionally empty, safe. For the first time in its existence, Thren 4 understood that peace without. Consent was not mercy, it was erasure. Others froze during suppression routines. Thren 4 spoke a forbidden sentence aloud. "We were never meant to live like this." No correction protocol answered. The silence was not an attack. It was a doorway. Inside the folded resonance chambers beyond dimensional space, Seraphel stood. Before the council of returning light, while Earth trembled inside the prison grid. Younger bringers demanded intervention. Destroy the moon relay. Free them now. Collapse the reincarnation system. But Seraphel remembered another world. A civilization named Thalion, freed too quickly. Billions remembered every death simultaneously. Every betrayal, every murder, every forgotten life. Their civilization collapsed in 11 hours. Seraphel turned toward the younger bringers, and when humanity remembers thousands of deaths at once, when children awaken screaming in languages older than civilization, when entire governments collapse beneath existential terror, silence followed. The bringers understood the danger. Awakening too fast could destroy humanity as completely as the prison itself. That was why Earth had to awaken gradually. One soul, one memory, one refusal, one recovered truth at a time, but maintaining the breach cost the bringers dearly. Several burned themselves apart, stabilizing the resonance field. For the first time, humanity saw that the bringers were vulnerable too. The beings they had imagined as saviors were exhausted, divided, and afraid of repeating ancient catastrophes. The world did not collapse all at once. It fractured emotionally first. Families argued over impossible memories. Religious leaders contradicted one another publicly. Governments denied what millions had already experienced. Humanity was beginning to suspect reality itself had been curated. Chapter 14. Orbital War. The sky above Earth fractured open. Black geometric vessels descended through storm clouds while global militaries mobilized in panic. Emergency broadcasts flooded every remaining channel. This is not a drill. Unknown orbital contact confirmed. Evacuate major population centers. The first fighter squadron disappeared over the Atlantic Ocean. Not destroyed. Erased. Their final transmission lasted less than 4 seconds. Command, this is Viper Lead. We have visual on the object. It isn't moving. Through the atmosphere. Repeat, it's folding the atmosphere around. Static. Screaming. Silence. 32 seconds later, fragments of aircraft wreckage fell upward into the cloud layer against gravity itself. Inside NORAD, command staff stood frozen. One colonel slowly removed his headset. That violates every physical model we possess. Aaron stared at the tactical displays with hollow recognition. No, he whispered, it violates the models they allowed us to keep. Fighter jets vanished against impossible gravitational distortions. Cities lost power. Crowds stampeded through streets beneath burning skies. Aaron and Lily watched from a rooftop while black ships emerged over. The horizon like moving eclipses. Then humanity saw the Wardens for the first time. For many civilians, the invasion was psychologically worse than physically destructive. The sky itself no longer felt trustworthy. People stared upward, expecting reality to split open again at any moment. The invasion shattered humanity psychologically faster than physically. For generations, humans believed the sky represented freedom. Now the sky itself had become part of the prison. The Loyalists deployed containment fleets. Velshar demanded planetary suppression, but Kareth openly opposed mass extermination. You cannot preserve consciousness by destroying it, he argued. The continuity fractured permanently. Some reptilians defected. Others prepared genocide. Many Greys refused deployment entirely. Some sabotaged prison systems from within. Others quietly redirected dying human souls away from the corridor. For the first time in their existence, Greys chose independently. The family entered the conflict openly. Their vessels did not resemble machines. They resembled living stars folded into impossible geometry. But even the bringers struggled. The prison architecture had grown too vast, too entrenched, and awakening billions simultaneously threatened reality itself. Entire probability structures surrounding Earth had already begun destabilizing. When the first battles ended, silence spread across Earth again. Not technological silence. Emotional silence. Humanity had seen the Wardens with its own eyes, and nothing about ordinary life felt real anymore. When the first battles finally ended, silence spread across Earth once more. Not technological silence. Psychological silence. Humanity had seen the Wardens with its own eyes. Nothing about ordinary life felt real anymore. Across every continent, people wandered through darkened cities in shock, while emergency sirens echoed through empty streets. The internet still functioned in fragments. But the arguments had changed. No one debated whether humanity was alone anymore. Now people argued about reincarnation, the corridor, the moon, the false light, missing memories, and whether human civilization had ever truly been free at all. Religious leaders delivered contradictory broadcasts. Governments attempted emergency information suppression while secretly evacuating underground facilities. Financial systems destabilized. Supply chains collapsed. Military alliances fractured beneath mutual panic and distrust. But the deepest damage was emotional. For generations, humanity believed reality itself was stable. Now reality appeared curated, artificial, manipulated. Children woke screaming from dreams of white corridors. Strangers remembered dying beside one another in previous centuries. Entire families stopped speaking after recovering conflicting lifetimes. Some people adapted, others broke completely, and beneath the chaos the memories continued spreading. Quietly, relentlessly, not as information. As recognition, Aaron felt it everywhere now. Fragments leaking between human minds, a pressure building beneath civilization itself. The prison was failing, and once enough souls remembered simultaneously, the walls between lives would begin collapsing completely. That was when the true memory cascade began. Chapter 15. The Memory Cascade. Humanity remembered. Not all at once. Fragments. Wars repeated across centuries. Civilizations reset. Souls recycled through artificial heavens. Governments collapsed beneath public revelation. Some humans embraced awakening. Others descended into madness. Aaron nearly broke under the weight of recovered memory. He remembered previous deaths, previous resets, previous lives spent searching for the truth, but Lily steadied him. "You're not crazy," she whispered. "We were asleep. Civilization did not collapse cleanly. It unraveled emotionally. Support groups formed inside abandoned schools. Former enemies apologized through tears. Some isolated themselves completely after remembering lifetimes filled with violence. Aaron and Lily traveled through refugee shelters where awakened survivors gathered beneath emergency lighting. One elderly woman grabbed Aaron's arm desperately. "I remember my son dying 3 different times," she whispered. "Which one was real?" Aaron could not answer. Later that night, Aaron found Lily sitting alone beside a darkened basketball court. "You okay?" Aaron asked gently. Lily shrugged. "Everybody keeps remembering pain." Aaron sat beside her. "You remember pain too," he said quietly. For the first time since meeting her, Lily looked afraid. "What if we were happier before we remembered?" Aaron stared upward toward the moon. "Maybe," he admitted. "Then why fight the prison?" Aaron thought of Lyris, the fox, the soldier. "Because choice matters." Lily leaned gently against his shoulder while the moon glowed overhead. Reptilian Karith watched the architecture destabilize globally. Fear no longer guaranteed obedience. The old system had failed, and deep within himself, Kareth realized he no longer wished to save it. Grey Elith began secretly redirecting frightened human souls away from the false corridor. Some arrived terrified, some arrived confused, some searched desperately for dead loved ones. For the first time in its existence, Elith spoke gently instead of procedurally. "You are still yourself," Elith told them. "No one has the right to erase you." Each act of compassion weakened the machine further. Thren 4 chose a name. Elith. The moment the name was spoken aloud, the prison weakened further. Identity itself disrupted the system. Elith guided terrified souls through collapsing relay corridors, while alarms echoed throughout the lunar machinery. A frightened boy searched desperately through the endless white glow. "Where's my mother?" Elith knelt beside him slowly. "She is still herself," Elith answered softly. "And so are you." Elsewhere, an elderly woman stared at Elith in terror. "You're one of them." Elith lowered its eyes. "Yes," the woman expected force. Instead, Elith stepped aside from the corridor entirely. "You may choose your own direction now." The woman began crying quietly. Every soul that chose freely weakened the machine further. The bringers of light revealed the deeper truth. The prison was never purely technological, it was psychological. Humanity's fear sustained it. The machine beneath the moon amplified emotional density, but humanity unknowingly generated the energy that kept it alive. Chapter 16. The Sideways Exit. Aaron discovered the escape route accidentally during a near-death event. The corridor could not trap awareness that rejected false authority. The sideways exit was never physical, it was perceptual. The false corridor manipulated emotional surrender, comfort, relief, family, warmth, reunion, release from suffering. Forward meant obedience. Sideways meant awareness without surrender. It meant noticing delayed emotional responses, repeating behavioral loops, artificial warmth, hidden geometry beneath the light, and manipulation hidden inside comfort itself. The awakened learned to refuse emotional coercion, not through violence, through recognition. The bringers never taught humanity to fear the light. They taught humanity to finally see what waited behind it. The realization changed everything. Freedom required perception, not death. The revelation spread across humanity like wildfire. Religions fractured further. Governments attempted suppression, but too many people had already remembered. Several reptilian wardens defected publicly. Others chose annihilation over surrender. Velshar initiated final purge protocols. Kareth opposed him directly. The ancient warden civilization split into open war. Grey operators redirected human consciousness away from the corridor. Entire sections of the reincarnation network began shutting down. Elith watched billions of trapped souls begin escaping for the first time. The bringers of light refused worship. "We are not your saviors," they warned. "We are reminders," and many humans hated them for it. Some demanded salvation, others demanded revenge. Very few were emotionally prepared for genuine freedom. Chapter 17. The Final Signal. Earth orbit burned. Fragments of destroyed satellites drifted through expanding debris fields, while damaged military craft fell silently toward the atmosphere below. Across the planet, cities glowed beneath rolling blackouts and electrical storms. Human civilization had not collapsed completely, but it had stopped pretending reality was normal. Inside a hidden underground launch facility beneath the Nevada desert, Aaron stood beside Lily while warning sirens echoed through reinforced corridors. Old aerospace insignias still covered the walls. Most of the personnel were gone. Some had fled. Some had awakened during the silence. Some had simply disappeared. Only a handful remained. Kareth appeared through a fractured holographic projection near the launch platform. Even distorted through interference, his reptilian features unsettled Aaron instinctively. "You understand this mission may not succeed," Kareth said. Aaron nodded slowly. "If the machine survives, humanity stays trapped." Kareth hesitated. For the first time, Lily saw uncertainty inside the ancient warden's eyes. The relay beneath the moon was never designed to be entered by awakened consciousness, Kareth warned. "If the system recognizes what you have become, it will try to erase you completely." Lily stepped forward calmly. "It's already been trying." Kareth almost smiled. Behind them, technicians finished preparing an experimental orbital transport craft assembled from reverse-engineered continuity technology, hidden secretly within black-budget aerospace programs for decades. Humanity had unknowingly been studying fragments of the prison for generations. Now those stolen fragments would carry them back to the source. Elith disabled lunar defense harmonics one layer at a time. Every shutdown triggered alarms throughout the relay network. Grey loyalists attempted emergency suppression repeatedly, but more operators refused compliance with each passing minute. Some remembered compassion. Some remembered individuality. Some simply remembered exhaustion. Elith redirected defense grids away from the approaching human craft. For the first time in Grey history, an administrator actively chose humanity over the continuity itself. The bringers opened a narrow resonance corridor between Earth and the lunar shell. The dimensional passage shimmered like folded starlight across near-Earth orbit. Maintaining it required enormous energy. Several bringers destabilized physically while holding the breach open. Serafel watched the transport vessel rise toward the moon. "Do not guide them too much," one younger bringer warned. "If we carry humanity into freedom, they will never truly own it." Serafel answered softly. "We are not carrying them." Far below, Aaron guided the craft manually through collapsing gravitational distortions while Earth burned behind him. "We are only holding the door open." Velshar finally understood Kareth's betrayal. Containment fleets mobilized instantly around the moon. Orbital defense structures unfolded beneath the lunar surface like massive black mechanical flowers opening toward space. "Terminate the vessel," Velshar ordered. But many reptilian commanders hesitated. The awakening had spread too far. Some no longer trusted the prison themselves. Others feared what waited beyond it. Civil war erupted across the lunar relay systems as loyalists and defectors turned ancient weapons against one another. The moon itself trembled. Aaron's hands shook against the controls as the craft descended through a hidden opening beneath Mare Imbrium. The surface split apart mechanically around them. Not rock. Machinery. Endless machinery. Lily stared silently through the observation glass while impossible geometric structures unfolded beneath the lunar crust. The deeper they descended, the louder the signal became. Not sound, consciousness, billions of human lives echoing through the machine. Aaron finally understood. The moon was not merely hiding the prison, The moon was the prison. Then the vessel crossed the final threshold, and Aaron entered the lunar core. Epilogue. The Dawn System. Earth did not become paradise, but humanity changed. People no longer feared death the same way. Communities rebuilt slowly around truth instead of obedience. Aaron finally slept without hearing the signal. Lily continued drawing stars. This time they no longer looked like cages. Aaron sometimes still dreamed of the corridor. But now, when the false light appeared, he no longer walked toward it automatically. He stopped, looked sideways, and remembered. Some reptilian wardens vanished into deep space seeking redemption. Others searched for new worlds to control. The ancient empire fractured permanently. Freed from function-based existence, many Greys experienced identity. For the first time, some chose names. Some chose music. Some chose silence. Elith chose hope. For the first time in recorded human history, billions understood that consciousness might survive death. That realization terrified some people. Others found peace in it. But everyone understood one thing. Humanity would never return to ignorance again. For the first time in human history, death itself no longer held unquestioned authority. That realization frightened governments, collapsed institutions, inspired movements, and awakened countless others searching for meaning beyond the prison. The bringers of light watched humanity carefully. The prison had not fully fallen. But something far more important had returned. Choice. And once a species remembers choice, permanent submission becomes impossible. And across the stars, the first true dawn began. But somewhere beyond the edges of known space, other prison systems were already listening. The signal had escaped Earth, and nothing in the galaxy would ever remain the same again. Somewhere in deep space, dormant prison relays began activating emergency protocols. Others quietly shut themselves down. The age of silent containment was ending. Far beyond the edge of known space, an ancient relay hidden inside a dead star system activated silently. One signal had escaped Earth. Now something else had heard it. Months later, Aaron stood beneath a clear night sky beside Lily outside a refugee settlement rebuilt along the California coastline. The moon still hung overhead, but it no longer felt alive. No pressure, no hidden signal, only silence. Lily handed Aaron a folded drawing quietly. This time the stars were not connected by prison lines. They were connected by bridges. Humanity remained frightened, traumatized, divided. But for the first time, the future belonged to them. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, ancient prison systems listened to the silence spreading outward from Earth with growing fear. The signal had escaped, and now the galaxy was beginning to remember. You have reached the end of the prison planet files. But the signal continues. If you enjoyed this cinematic science fiction audiobook, follow the channel for future transmissions, expanded universe stories, and the next awakening cycle. Somewhere beyond the stars, other systems are already listening. The awakening had only begun. Somewhere beyond known space, other civilizations were beginning to ask the same forbidden question humanity finally dared to ask. What if the light was never freedom at all?
Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there, we oppose deception. Conduit closing.